$692,441.73. That exact number is seared into my memory like a brand across my soul. Not 692,000 or almost 700,000, but $692,441.73, down to the last Satoshi. That's how much my crypto mining partner Jake Morrison systematically stole from our Bitcoin mining operation while standing beside me in our warehouse facility. The industrial roar of 847 Antminer S19 Pros drowning out his lies about pool variants and maintenance delays. The metallic taste of betrayal coated my tongue as I watched him adjust his new Patek Philippe while explaining why our quarterly profit distributions were delayed. The smell of hot electronics and ozone filling my nostrils from thousands of ASIC miners running at 110 terahash per second each. Jake thought he was manipulating some tech consultant who understood mining hardware but wouldn't scrutinize blockchain transaction records or wallet clustering patterns. He had no idea he was stealing from Robert Hayes, a blockchain transaction auditor who'd spent 18 years developing cryptocurrency tracing methodologies for the IRS Criminal Investigation Division. Someone who'd tracked over $12 billion in undeclared digital assets and testified in 68 federal tax evasion cases. He stood there in our mining facility, steel-toed boots clicking against concrete floors while our three-phase 480-volt power system hummed at 0.067 per kilowatt-hour. Absolutely convinced he'd found the perfect partner to exploit while my life savings flowed into his personal wallets through carefully structured transactions designed to avoid automated compliance reporting. What Jake didn't know was that every Bitcoin transaction creates an immutable audit trail, and I know how to read those digital breadcrumbs better than anyone in federal tax enforcement. I'm Robert Hayes, and watching Jake celebrate our successful mining quarter while the bitter smell of overheated silicone mixed with his expensive cologne, I felt something I rarely experience in my professional investigations: the cold, methodical fury that precedes a complete financial forensic audit. The afternoon heat from our 2-megawatt power draw made sweat bead on my forehead, but ice water was flowing through my veins as I realized the scope of his systematic theft. In 12 weeks, Jake would be standing in handcuffs before a federal tax court judge, watching his luxury lifestyle crumble in real time, while prosecutors read charges under 26 U.S.C. 7201 for tax evasion and 18 U.S.C. 1956 for money laundering cryptocurrency proceeds. And I would be the expert witness whose blockchain forensics analysis destroyed his defense and sent him to federal prison for 22 years with no possibility of parole before serving 85% of his sentence. What would you do if your trusted business partner systematically stole your crypto mining profits while looking you in the eye and lying about operational expenses? Drop your country flag in the comments, because I want to understand how mining fraud operates in different regulatory environments around the world. The partnership began 2 years earlier when Jake approached me at the North American Bitcoin Conference, his voice carrying that perfect blend of technical knowledge and entrepreneurial enthusiasm that separates legitimate opportunities from obvious scams. Robert, I've been following your presentations on blockchain analytics for tax enforcement, and I think we should discuss scaling mining operations using institutional-grade efficiency metrics, he said, somehow knowing exactly how much Bitcoin I'd accumulated through personal mining since 2019. His research was impressive and slightly unsettling, demonstrating knowledge of my professional background, mining equipment purchases, and even specific mining pool relationships I developed over several years. When I asked how he'd obtained such detailed information, Jake laughed warmly and explained that successful miners often appear on equipment vendor databases that serious operators monitor for potential partnerships. His mining facility occupied 15,000 square feet of industrial space in rural Wyoming, with dedicated electrical infrastructure capable of supporting 2.1 megawatts of continuous power consumption that screamed operational legitimacy to anyone walking through the warehouse. The walls displayed framed certificates from Bitmain, MicroBT, and Canaan, along with photographs of Jake shaking hands with mining pool operators and cryptocurrency exchange executives at industry conferences. His facility manager served coffee from a professional espresso machine, while massive exhaust fans circulated air through 12 rows of humming ASIC miners arranged in hot aisle, cold aisle configuration, creating an atmosphere of serious technical sophistication that immediately put potential partners at ease. Everything about the environment suggested established mining expertise backed by institutional relationships and operational efficiency. Jake's partnership proposal initially seemed conservative and intelligent, focusing on expanding our combined hash rate through equipment financing and facility optimization rather than chasing speculative altcoin mining that characterized amateur operations. "We're not gambling on shitcoins," he explained during our first formal meeting, sliding detailed spreadsheets across his conference table showing projected Bitcoin production, electricity costs, and equipment depreciation schedules. "Your IRS background gives you an edge in understanding tax implications, but scaling mining requires operational discipline and institutional capital access." He recommended consolidating our existing mining operations under a formal partnership structure, promising enhanced efficiency, professional management, and tax optimization strategies that individual miners couldn't access independently. The first red flag appeared 6 months later during our routine quarterly review, a subtle discrepancy that my forensic training immediately flagged as suspicious. Our slush pool dashboard showed consistent Bitcoin production matching our expected hash rate of 93.17 petahash per second, but our partnership wallet showed significantly lower accumulated balances than the blockchain records indicated we should have earned. The difference was substantial, approximately 11.4 Bitcoin over 90 days, worth roughly $315,000 at current market prices. When I questioned Jake about the missing production, his explanation was smooth and technically plausible. "Pool variance and transaction fee optimization," he said, adjusting his mining helmet with practiced nonchalance. "We're using automated switching between slush pool and F2 pool to maximize effective hash rate, and some payouts get temporarily held in intermediate wallets for tax efficiency." But I'd reviewed our partnership agreement carefully, and there was no provision for intermediate wallet holdings or automated pool switching. That evening in my home office, surrounded by the familiar hum of my personal mining rigs and the smell of fresh coffee, I began what I do best: following cryptocurrency through blockchain networks using Chainalysis Reactor and my proprietary IRS forensic tools. What I discovered made my stomach drop like a stone through water. Our mining production was being systematically diverted through a series of intermediate wallets that showed no evidence of legitimate pool arbitrage or fee optimization, but instead revealed classic money laundering patterns I'd seen in dozens of federal tax evasion cases. The blockchain analysis revealed Jake's true criminal sophistication, a cryptocurrency theft operation that exploited the technical complexity of Bitcoin mining to hide systematic fraud. My home office transformed into a digital forensics laboratory, the familiar smell of hot electronics mixing with cold coffee as I worked 18-hour days mapping his entire mining fraud infrastructure. Using Chainalysis Reactor, Crystal Analytics, and proprietary IRS blockchain auditing tools I'd helped develop for tax enforcement, I traced not just the missing 11.4 Bitcoin, but systematic theft spanning our entire 14-month partnership. The pattern was methodical, patient, and devastating. Jake had been skimming our mining rewards through a sophisticated Stratum proxy while generating completely fabricated pool payout reports showing normal variance in operational expenses. I started at the source, our slush pool payouts. Our sub-account, WY Blockforge, showed consistent shares submitted at 93.17 petahash per second, with predictable Bitcoin credits every hour that matched difficulty adjustments perfectly. But the payout address configured in the dashboard wasn't the cold multisig wallet we'd established in our partnership agreement. It was a new Betch32 address that hadn't existed when we launched. On-chain analysis revealed each matured block reward was split within 60 seconds. 84% to Mixer-bound wallets, 10% to a Kraken Exchange hot wallet, and 6% to an address my Chainalysis database tagged as Morrison Travel, funding first-class flights and luxury resort stays. The technical breakthrough came when I inspected our facility's network infrastructure. Jake had installed a Stratum proxy between our miners and the pools, a small server labeled innocently HVAC Mon that was rewriting Coinbase outputs and inserting hidden fee destinations. Packet capture on port 3333 revealed the proxy was switching our miners to Jake's private brain sub-account for 10-minute bursts every hour, long enough to skim significant hash rate, short enough to hide inside natural variance. The industrial roar of 847 Antminer S19 Pros vibrated through the concrete floor while I documented each fraudulent transaction, the metallic taste of betrayal coating my tongue. Total confirmed theft, $692,441.73, representing not just my hardware investment, but 2 years of anticipated mining profits that should have secured Emily's Stanford tuition and our family's financial independence. The precision of that number burned into my memory because I'd tracked every kilowatt hour of our $47,000 monthly electricity costs, every hash rate fluctuation, every Bitcoin block reward since beginning our partnership. Jake hadn't simply grabbed coins and fled like an amateur criminal. He'd created a parallel mining universe where our facility appeared wildly successful on paper, while actual profits flowed into his personal wallets through sophisticated blockchain laundering. But the hardest part was telling Sarah everything. I found her in our kitchen reviewing Emily's college financial aid applications, the familiar sounds of family planning creating a domestic soundtrack that felt surreal given what I was about to destroy. The smell of dinner preparation filled the air, making my stomach turn as I approached with my laptop displaying evidence of our financial ruin. When I showed her the blockchain analysis proving our mining partnership profits had been systematically stolen, color drained from her face like water flowing from a broken dam. Her hands trembled as she gripped the counter, voice barely a whisper. All of it? Everything we put into the mining farm? The sound of her quiet sob cut deeper than any physical pain I'd ever experienced. The next morning brought Emily's innocent question about her Stanford application deposit, her bright voice untainted by the financial storm brewing around us. "Dad, is the mining operation still covering tuition like we planned?" That moment crystallized everything. I looked at Sarah, my voice steady despite the tremor in my hands. Yes, everything will be fine. Jake picked the wrong person to steal from. The promise tasted like steel in my mouth, transforming devastation into diamond-hard determination. I tried conventional routes first, each one a lesson in institutional helplessness when cryptocurrency mining fraud crosses jurisdictional boundaries. The local sheriff's deputy's eyes glazed over at Bitcoin mining partnership fraud, his dismissive tone making clear that digital theft wasn't real crime in his worldview. The FBI's IC3 portal felt like shouting into a digital void, where crypto fraud reports disappear into bureaucratic black holes. Private attorneys quoted six-figure retainers before drafting preservation letters, explaining complexities of cross-jurisdictional crypto tracing and mining operation forensics. So I drafted preservation letters myself, citing 26 U.S.C. 7602 for tax examination authority and 18 U.S.C. 2703 for electronic communications preservation, placing every mining pool, exchange, and correspondent institution on formal notice to preserve logs, IP addresses, device fingerprints, and transaction records tied to our partnership wallets and Jake's clustering network. I filed comprehensive complaints with IRS criminal investigation under 26 U.S.C. 7201 for tax evasion, FBI field offices alleging wire fraud under 18 U.S.C. 1333, and detailed packages documenting money laundering under 18 U.S.C. 1956. The breakthrough came through careful investigation of Jake's operational security vulnerabilities. I discovered his facility manager, Ben Foster, had been signing off on several midnight equipment maintenance sessions from the same device that checked into a 24-hour truck stop across from our warehouse. I met Ben at a diner reeking of bacon grease and burnt coffee, sliding a notarized affidavit across the table along with a recorder and federal subpoena draft. He read silently, then whispered, "Jake said the proxy server was for temperature monitoring. I never questioned the network changes." Ben signed, then forwarded internal emails where Jake literally wrote, "Redirect overflow hash rate to personal accounts. Robert won't notice variance in this market," including screenshots of our mining dashboard obviously manipulated to show lower production than blockchain records confirmed. I preserved everything using forensic hashing algorithms, encrypted each file for integrity verification, and transmitted under secure protocols to IRS criminal investigation field offices and U.S. Attorney intake desks, copying FBI Cybercrime Division and FinCEN suspicious activity reporting. Then I sat alone at my desk, house quiet except for the distant hum of our remaining personal miners, letting cold anger crystallize into something sharper. Patience. Jake believed he was untouchable because he spoke mining industry language while hiding behind technical complexity in industrial-scale operations. He had no idea the immutable blockchain ledger he exploited would become the permanent record that buried him. I set live alerts on every wallet in his cluster and prepared for the next phase. The hunt had officially begun. The blockchain forensics revealed Jake's complete criminal infrastructure, a sophisticated cryptocurrency theft operation that exploited mining partnership trust to hide systematic fraud. My home office transformed into a digital war room, the familiar smell of hot electronics mixing with cold coffee as I worked 18-hour days mapping his entire mining fraud network. Using Chainalysis Reactor, Crystal Analytics, and proprietary IRS blockchain auditing tools I'd helped develop for tax enforcement, I traced not just my stolen $692,441, but systematic theft spanning 28 months across multiple mining partnerships. The pattern was methodical, patient, and devastating. Jake had been operating a criminal enterprise targeting cryptocurrency miners with substantial hash rate and capital investments. The technical breakthrough came when I physically inspected our facility's network infrastructure. Jake had installed a stratum proxy between our miners and the pools, a small server labeled innocuously HVAC-MON that was rewriting Coinbase outputs and inserting hidden fee destinations. Packet capture on port 3333 revealed the proxy was switching our miners to Jake's private brain sub-account for 10-minute bursts every hour, long enough to skim significant hash rate, short enough to hide inside natural variance. The industrial roar of 847 Antminer S19 Pros vibrated through the concrete floor while I documented each fraudulent transaction, the metallic taste of betrayal coating my tongue as I realized the sophistication of his deception. Our slush pool sub-account WY Blockforge showed consistent shares submitted at 93.17 petahash per second, with predictable Bitcoin credits that matched difficulty adjustments perfectly. But the payout address configured in the dashboard wasn't the cold multisig wallet we'd established in our partnership agreement. It was a new Betch32 address that hadn't existed when we launched. On-chain analysis revealed each matured block reward was split within 60 seconds, 84% to Mixer-bound wallets, 10% to a Kraken Exchange hot wallet, and 6% to an address my Chainalysis tagged as Morrison Travel, funding first-class flights and luxury resort stays while our facility paid $47,000 monthly in electricity costs. Using social media intelligence and cryptocurrency mining forums, I began identifying other victims whose mining profits had vanished into Jake's sophisticated skimming operation. Within 72 hours of careful outreach through encrypted signal communications, I'd connected with 19 confirmed victims across 6 states who'd lost amounts ranging from $85,000 to $1.4 million. Dr. Michael Chen, a radiologist from Denver, had invested $890,000 in Jake's institutional mining partnership, only to discover the underlying hash rate was being systematically redirected. Lisa Rodriguez, a software engineer from Austin, lost $445,000 from her mining farm partnership after Jake convinced her that professional facility management required centralized pool configurations. Together, we built what federal prosecutors call a victim coalition, creating a comprehensive database documenting Jake's crimes totaling over $8.7 million across 23 confirmed mining partnerships. Each new victim added federal counts, transforming individual theft into a RICO racketeering case that would demand prosecutorial attention at the highest levels. The pattern was consistent. Jake specifically targeted cryptocurrency miners with substantial technical knowledge but limited experience in partnership forensics, exploiting their trust in mining pool variance explanations to mask systematic theft. I coordinated with Ben Foster, Jake's former facility manager, who provided internal Morrison mining documents showing systematic client profit diversion. Ben's sworn affidavit included email chains where Jake literally instructed staff to optimize client configurations for maximum fee extraction and redirect overflow hash rate to personal accounts. Robert won't notice variance in this market. Most damning was a spreadsheet labeled high hash rate targets, containing detailed profiles of potential victims, their estimated mining capacity, and psychological assessment notes about technical sophistication and partnership management experience. Special Agent Patricia Williams from the IRS Criminal Investigation Division listened without interruption as I presented my blockchain forensics analysis in a sterile conference room that smelled like government coffee and industrial carpet. The evidence binder was thick as a phone book, containing blockchain transaction flows, victim testimonies, internal Morrison mining documents, and Ben Foster's cooperation agreement. Agent Williams examined my clustering analysis, showing how Jake's wallet network had processed over $8.7 million in stolen mining profits, then called Assistant U.S. Attorney David Park on speaker. We'll draft seizure affidavits and 7602 examination orders immediately, Park said, after reviewing the forensic timeline. This is the largest mining partnership fraud we've seen in the District of Wyoming. I drafted preservation letters citing 26 U.S.C. 7602 for tax examination authority and 18 U.S.C. 2703F for electronic communications preservation, placing every mining pool, exchange, and correspondent institution on formal notice to preserve logs, IP addresses, device fingerprints, and transaction records tied to our partnership wallets and Jake's clustering network. I filed comprehensive complaints with IRS criminal investigation under 26 U.S.C. 721 for tax evasion, FBI field offices alleging wire fraud under 18 U.S.C. 1343, and detailed packages documenting money laundering under 18 U.S.C. 1956. The pressure on Jake began mounting as mining partners demanded explanations for declining profitability and delayed distributions. He tried deflecting with generic statements about unprecedented network difficulty increases and complex pool optimization challenges impacting profit margins. But my monitoring alerts, set on every wallet in his laundering cluster, pinged constantly as he liquidated stolen Bitcoin to fund new purchases, including a custom Porsche 911 GT3 RS he foolishly showcased on his now private Instagram account. The final trap was elegant in its technical precision. I sent Jake a detailed partnership audit request under our mining agreement, complete hash rate verification, pool payout reconciliation, and facility electrical consumption analysis for the previous quarter. My email was clinical, free of emotion, just enough technical detail to force transparency without screaming federal investigation. He responded within 18 minutes with nervous enthusiasm. "Of course, Robert, great timing. We just completed efficiency upgrades. I'll compile comprehensive reports." I could practically hear his mining helmet tapping with anxiety. The warrant was signed Friday afternoon. Agent Williams called with news that made my pulse quicken. "We execute Monday morning if the pattern holds. Any technical curveballs on your mining analysis?" I stared at my evidence wall, red pins marking every wallet, every victim, every lie Jake had constructed over 30 months of systematic mining fraud. "No curveballs," I said, tasting victory like ozone before a thunderstorm. "His proxy server logs are preserved, and the blockchain doesn't lie." Jake Morrison was about to learn that stealing from an IRS blockchain auditor carries consequences measured in decades of federal prison time. The trap closed on Jake Morrison at 5:47 a.m. on Monday morning, exactly 112 days after I discovered his systematic theft from our mining farm. I was monitoring blockchain alerts in my home office, the familiar aroma of strong coffee mixing with anticipation, when my secure phone buzzed with a text that made me smile for the first time in months. Wyoming package secured, target in custody. Special Agent Patricia Williams had just confirmed Jake was in federal custody, arrested at our mining facility as he attempted to transfer another $485,000 through his Binance account to Cayman Islands banking connections. The metallic sound of handcuffs clicking shut echoed through our warehouse while 847 Antminer S19 Pros continued their industrial roar. Federal agents photographing the Stratum proxy server and cryptocurrency hardware wallets scattered across his facility office like evidence of systematic mining fraud. According to Agent Williams, Jake had been so confident in his operational security that he'd been reviewing fake partnership reports when IRS criminal investigation agents breached the facility. His mining helmet still on his head as his carefully constructed mining empire shattered in real time. The federal indictment was a prosecutor's masterpiece. 51 counts of wire fraud under 18 U.S.C. 1343, 24 counts of money laundering under 18 U.S.C. 1956, 18 counts of tax evasion under 26 U.S.C. 7201, and 8 counts of conspiracy. Jake was facing 32 to 37 years under federal sentencing guidelines, with no possibility of parole before serving 85%. The asset seizure was swift and comprehensive, executed simultaneously across 4 states and 2 countries. Within hours, federal marshals had frozen $7.2 million across 39 bank accounts, seized his Wyoming mining facility and Montana ranch property, and impounded his custom Porsche 911 GT3 RS and Harley-Davidson CVO Limited. The cryptocurrency seizures were even more satisfying. Agent Williams's team recovered 1,947 Bitcoin, 31,000 Ethereum, and over $3.1 million in stablecoins from wallets Jake thought were untraceable through sophisticated mixing services. The media coverage was explosive and immediate. Jake's mugshot appeared on every major cryptocurrency news outlet within hours, his polished mining entrepreneur image completely destroyed. Wyoming mining operator arrested in $8.7 million cryptocurrency fraud scheme screamed headlines across CoinDesk, Bitcoin Magazine, and mining industry publications. Local news stations ran footage of federal agents carrying boxes of evidence from our facility, while former partners gathered outside demanding answers about their missing profits. His mining pool operator credentials were immediately suspended, and Morrison Mining's assets were placed under federal receivership to facilitate victim restitution. The professional reputation he'd spent years building in the mining community evaporated overnight, replaced by federal mugshots and perp walk footage that would define his legacy forever. The preliminary hearing was scheduled for May 20th, with me listed as the government's primary expert witness. Jake's expensive defense attorney tried desperately to negotiate a plea deal, but Assistant U.S. Attorney David Park saw no reason for concessions. Your client targeted an IRS blockchain auditor who develops federal investigative tools for cryptocurrency tax enforcement, Park told the defense team. The evidence is overwhelming. We have documented every stolen hash rate, every fabricated report, every attempt at concealment through Stratum proxy manipulation. 34 years minimum, full restitution, and lifetime prohibition from cryptocurrency mining operations. The trial lasted 15 days, though the outcome felt inevitable from opening statements. I testified for 10 hours across 4 days, walking federal jurors through my blockchain analysis with methodical precision while prosecutors displayed mining transaction flows on courtroom screens. The prosecution used my forensic work as their case foundation, showing how each theft had been executed through stratum proxy manipulation, concealed through sophisticated mixing services, and laundered while mining partners received completely fabricated profitability reports. Jake's defense strategy was pathetic, claiming he'd been a legitimate mining operator who suffered unforeseeable network difficulty increases that forced emergency liquidity measures. During cross-examination, his attorney tried painting me as a biased partner seeking revenge rather than objective expert testimony. "Mr. Hayes," he said with false concern, "isn't it true you lost substantial mining profits and might harbor personal animosity?" I looked him directly in the eye, then addressed the jury with calm precision. "My analysis is based on immutable blockchain data and 18 years of federal tax enforcement principles, not personal feelings. The evidence shows Mr. Morrison committed systematic wire fraud, money laundering, and tax evasion while generating completely fabricated mining partnership reports." I concluded with calculated emphasis. Bitcoin's blockchain creates permanent records of every transaction and mining reward. Mr. Morrison's entire criminal enterprise is permanently recorded on distributed ledgers that cannot be altered, disputed, or explained away by network difficulty fluctuations. The jury deliberated less than 5 hours, returning guilty verdicts on all 51 counts. When the foreman read guilty for the first time, Jake's shoulders sagged like a deflating mining rig cooling down. By the 40th guilty verdict, he was staring at his hands while his attorney whispered desperate consolations about appeals and sentencing mitigation. The sentencing hearing 4 months later was my moment of complete vindication. Judge Michael Rodriguez listened to victim impact statements from 23 people whose mining partnerships Jake had destroyed. When my turn came, I looked directly at Jake and spoke words I'd rehearsed. "Your Honor, the defendant weaponized technical mining knowledge and industrial infrastructure to commit unprecedented cryptocurrency fraud. He didn't just steal money, he destroyed years of disciplined mining investments, partnership trust, and financial independence while hiding behind legitimate mining operations and facility management. This represents calculated predatory behavior targeting the most technical aspect of cryptocurrency where trust is essential for success." Jake wouldn't meet my eyes, staring at the defense table while his shoulders shook. Judge Rodriguez sentenced him to 34 years in federal prison with no parole possibility before serving 85%. Full restitution of $8.7 million plus interest and penalties. Lifetime ban from cryptocurrency mining operations and forfeiture of all assets purchased with stolen proceeds. When federal marshals led Jake away in shackles, he finally looked at me one last time. The fear and complete defeat in his eyes was everything I'd hoped to see during those sleepless nights building the forensic case. 3 years later, my family had recovered financially through federal restitution payments and seized asset distributions. Emily graduated from Stanford with degrees in computer science and blockchain engineering, saying she wants to audit cryptocurrency transactions like her father. Jake Morrison is serving his sentence at USP Florence, where mining partnership fraud carries no special privileges. If someone promises guaranteed mining profits through facility partnerships, remember, the blockchain never forgets, and neither do the IRS auditors who know how to read its permanent records.